No
All right,
worries.
this is the Growth Podcast. My name is Aaron Chu. Today I'm sitting down with my guest, Matt Marciante. Marciante from Marciante and Company with his wife, Jacqueline. Super excited to chat with you, man. I love what you're doing, and welcome to the Growth Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. This is cool. So, for the listeners and the guests who don't know you as well as I do, I'm going to ask you to tell us just a little bit about yourself, where you come from and stuff. But I just want to preface this by saying he makes awesome leather stuff. Let's just start with that. It's awesome leather stuff. If my wife gets a hold of your website, she's going to buy every pair of boots that you sell because they're so cool looking. And I know you're doing amazing things during the pandemic. You're helping out the world with some leather goods and stuff. So I'm excited to get into that. But before we do, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Where you're from. Tell us a bit about your background.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm from Dallas, Texas. Been here for most of my life. Moved around a little bit, but 20 of my 30 plus years have been here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. This is where we started our company. We started in 2017. My wife and I wanted to disrupt the shoe industry, the leather industry. And so, we took a different approach to e-commerce, going straight to the consumer and going straight to the factories, the manufacturers ourselves. So cutting out a lot of the middlemen and taking on the design process ourselves and the sourcing ourselves and really kind of building a brand. And so we've been online for about 3 years now, and still going strong. We purchased another company last year called Mission Leather Co. And so that kind of opened up a new market, so we can do leather MacBook cases and iPad cases and things like that. And so, we run them as sister companies, but the umbrella is Marciante and Company.
Damn, that's cool, man. No big deal. Just trying to disrupt the shoe industry. Right? Wow. That's awesome. Talk about a feat. Excuse the pun. I did not mean to say it like that, but that's funny. Cool, man. That's cool. So, yeah, I mean, have you always been an entrepreneur? Has it always been this way? Or at some point were you like, regular job and then you found entrepreneurship? Sort of how did that journey work out for you?
Yeah, I think it took me a while to realize it, to be honest. I've always been really competitive. I don't know if you're familiar with the Strengths Finder personality test, but competition is my number one. And so I have to have, that motivation. I've got to have a drive to compete, to improve, to be better, to build something. And so, I started businesses when I was a kid, little things. I didn't really think anything of it, went into the workforce, actually dropped out of college because I was studying business and I didn't think I was interested in it at the time. And actually went into ministry. I was a pastor for several years. And so I just, I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference. Wanted to, just improve quality of life and just be a good example for people. And so it took me a while to realize that, the things I was passionate about, the things I wanted to do, the type of thing that I wanted to build for my life, really kind of equated to being an entrepreneur, starting something new, starting from scratch and developing something. So I kind of grew up around the leather industry. My dad has been in leather shoes for over 30 years. And so, I kind of leaned on his expertise, and he's been a great mentor to me, and, kind of leaned on his education and his wisdom in that arena. So, yeah.
Yeah, man, totally. That's awesome. Yeah, it takes time to, it's a cheesy saying, but it's true, to find yourself and to find what it is you want to do, what kind of an impact you want to have on this planet, what kind of a legacy you want to leave behind, how you want to spend your time, right? Like how you want to spend your days. For me, when I was working in the corporate world, every day I was just super angry, because I was like, ugh, this is so not me. And then when I found entrepreneurship and businesses and working for myself with business partners that I had fun with, like friends and stuff, that's fun. It was super exciting for me. And then when I realized I could make a living like that, I was ecstatic, but it took some time and it took some pain to get there. So how did you have the courage to step into that, man? Because that's a big hurdle, for a lot of people listening. They could be like, yeah, it's easy for those guys to say like they have businesses, but we didn't always have businesses, right? So we had to jump. So when you made that jump, how did it feel? Like what kind of hurdles did you face early on?
Yeah, I mean, it was terrifying. I'll be honest.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure, man.
um, the idea itself, my wife and I were talking about it. We wanted to do something creative together, like you said, with with business partners and people you have fun working with and things like that. You know, obviously my wife and I have similar priorities and similar values and things that we want to do. We're both very creative, so we like to build, we like to dream. And so this idea kind of started as, you know, something we would do on the side for fun, like just kind of a side hustle. And as it kind of picked up some steam and grew a little bit, she was really the first one to kind of bring the reality, you know, like, I don't think this is something we can do on the side. I think we're going to have to go all in on this. Yeah, so I left my job January of 2017 and just kind of jumped in head first. Started on the branding, started on developing product, building our site, building out our social media, you know, marketing strategy, designing the actual footwear, going to Mexico, sourcing leather, finding factories, you know, the whole thing. We just kind of jumped in head first.
That's awesome, man. That's so fun, hey? Like, it's so fun. Oh, you know,
Yeah.
went to Mexico sourcing leather. Like, that's just awesome. That's the kind of stuff that, like, you know, when you're old and gray, you know, when we're like 130 and we're dying, because we're going to live to be that long. Trust me,
Hmm.
with the way things are going, you know it, right? So like when we're old and we're about to leave, you know, you want to look back and be like, yeah, remember the time we went to Mexico and sourced leather for our business? Like, these are the things that give life its zest, right?
Hmm.
And I feel like for a lot of people, myself included, when I was working in a structure under a company, or, you know, something that I just was doing for the money, literally just for the money, you don't feel any of that. You don't get that jolt of energy from going out and doing something that's like terrifying and dangerous, but it's so rewarding at the same time, right? Such a good
Yeah.
feeling. Eh? So talk to us a little bit about your trip to Mexico. What was that like?
Yeah. So it was very interesting. So Mexico is huge in the leather industry. It's you know, very similar to what Italy can do as far as the leather industry, the footwear industry. I would say a majority of footwear manufacturers are having shoes made in Mexico. There's a lot of production going on down there. Um, it's great. You know, it's really cool to meet the people, to see what they're capable of. You know, my creativity exploded when I saw what all they can do and materials we have access to and styles we have access to. And so it was a little bit of culture shock, I think, in the professional sense of things. Like, I just didn't know what was really capable. We went down there with a very small, simple idea, and it just kind of grew wings on its own when we saw, you know, what we could do. So it was a blast. You know, it's really cool. It's kind of There's kind of a changing of the guard right now. A lot of the factory owners and leather tannery owners and things like that are close to my dad's age, but a lot of them have sons and daughters, and they're starting to transition the younger generation into the industry. And so a lot of the older generation knew my dad, and so I'm getting to meet you know, their children that are taking over the businesses. And so it's almost like we're all kind of following in the footsteps of our, you know, of our parents, and changing the game, you know, doing things differently. And so it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, for sure it would be fun. That's awesome. Yeah, you're continuing on the family legacy there, right? Like the changing of the guard, the kids are taking over now, right? It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool, man. That's super cool. So when you were transitioning into your new business, and you started the process of, you know, okay, we're going to create a company. Okay, we're going to register the company, right? We're going to go through all the logistics of the back end of a business. Okay, we're going to have an idea and a marketing strategy, and we need a budget, we need startup capital, and we need to find a network. Like, where are we going to sell these things? I have so many thoughts in my mind because I've never obviously built a shoe business. I'm like, oh my God, where would you even begin? Like, where does that even start? And I'm sure you went through all of that. I know you did. So how did you like compartmentalize sort of your life in the earlier days, when I'm sure it was like a tidal wave of to-do lists, right? Things to get
Yeah,
done, things to
absolutely.
learn, people to talk to. How did you sort of manage that and navigate that storm for the first, let's say, 6 months to a year?
Man, I really ate, slept, and breathed YouTube and Google, and, you know, old footwear books, learning, you know, the ins and outs of how to make a shoe. Because that's the thing, you know, if we're going to design a shoe, which we came into this with no prior design experience, and so we really needed to learn from scratch how a shoe is made. What are all the different components of a shoe? really kind of strip it down to the bare minimum. What are the materials used? What are the differences in the construction types? And that's just on the product design side. And then obviously you have the business side. And so it's, literally I've been there, 2 o'clock in the morning, Googling, how do I start a business? What paperwork do I need to file to start a business?
Absolutely.
How do I get a trademark? Like things like that. And so, man, it was just a lot of asking questions, a lot of research, a lot of YouTube tutorials and reading blogs and studying other people's stories that have done something maybe in a different industry, but started a business in the same way, and what worked for them, what didn't. Even podcasts like this, getting to hear people's stories, the hurdles that they jumped. Sometimes you can learn from their mistakes before you even get to that decision, and so you can avoid a lot of those things. And yeah, I mean, the first 6 months were crazy. We literally went from just an idea to fully branded website, first line of product and everything by the end of the first 6 months. So it was a whirlwind for sure.
Totally, man. That's awesome. Well, congrats for, getting it done. Cause that, what I hear from that when you tell me all that stuff, I just hear one simple thing: determined, focused action. That's all I
Mhm.
hear. That's all I hear right now is this guy is determined, focused, and he's taking action. So, for our audience out there, a lot of entrepreneurs that are just getting started, a lot of people who are transitioning into the entrepreneur space, and of course, some successful business owners, they're out there, smashing it and doing their thing the whole way through the lifeline of an entrepreneur. The very beginning is the moment where you just need to take ridiculous action and just learn as you go and pivot your way through all of these different changes and things that happen. And I think a lot of people get handcuffed by either fear, doubt, indecision, trying to make everything quote unquote perfect before they take the next step, when really it's all about just getting it done, moving forward,
Mhm.
learning from that, and keeping on going, right? And that's clearly what you were doing. So that's awesome, man. Pushing through that stuff, that's what it's all about. Um, so let's talk about the current situation now. I mean, it's the pandemic, right? We're recording this in May 2020. It's the coronavirus. The whole world's um, closed, right? Uh,
Yeah.
except for the online stuff, obviously not closed, but everybody's stuck in their home. And businesses are going through some crazy stuff right now. Like a lot of people are getting fired. A lot of people are being laid off. Companies are closing. Other people are expanding and growing. Elon Musk is opening even though he's not supposed to. He doesn't care. Jeff Bezos is hiring, like, when everyone else is firing, he's hiring, so there's all sorts of crazy stuff happening. And we all know that, like, in a transitional moment like this is when the next flood of millionaires, billionaires is created. And not only that, but just successful businesses are created, and they blossom from this moment. Now,
Mhm.
what's interesting with what you guys are doing is you're actually innovating in this moment. And you're finding a way to not only impact and help the world in the moment, which is like a love-based action, which is always returned in good because it's karmically good energy, which is amazing. But the second part is, obviously, financially, you can capitalize on these opportunities, right? And you can help people and serve them. And of course, in our modern society, you're paid in this thing called money, right? So
Mhm.
you're getting money for your service. So talk to us a little bit about that, because you took a pretty aggressive approach, and I love what you did. So walk us through what's going on currently with your business, and how you're dealing with this coronavirus stuff.
Yeah. So to give a little bit of context, I mentioned before that our shoes are manufactured in Mexico. We source the leather, and we work with a couple small batch factories down there that make everything by hand and ship it up to us, and we fulfill our orders. When we purchased that second company last year, they were manufacturing here locally in Dallas, and so we took on their facility and machinery to actually manufacture those other smaller leather goods here in Dallas. So whenever the shelter in place came down, we were not considered essential. So even though our website is open, our social media is open, our email is open, and we can do all those things from home, not only could we not manufacture, all of our goods that we're selling, we couldn't ship orders either. And so, we had to have some pretty interesting conversations and some interesting messaging going out to our customers, like, I mean, how do you say, hey, you can continue to support us, you can continue to shop. We just can't send the things that you're buying right now. So you're going to have to wait on that. So we, trying to get creative, trying to brainstorm, what does that look like? How do we navigate that while we're sitting at home? And then my wife actually had the idea that, she's like, why don't we start making the masks? We have sewing machines, we have the materials to cut. We've got, a guy on our staff that is a tailor. He can make custom clothing. So, I mean, that would be, a no-brainer for him. So we just kind of started investigating pretty quickly. Like, how quickly can we make a pattern? How quickly can we get our hands on some fabric, some elastic? Legally, is this something we would be allowed to do? Like, what would this do for us? And so, honestly, it was probably over the span of about 48 hours. We did all of this digging and, again, research and emails and phone calls and trying to find out what that looks like, and essentially found out that we would be allowed to operate again. We would be considered an essential business because we're making the masks, and that's a need for the public right now. And so we just kind of jumped in. And so we said, not only could we make the masks and contribute in a positive way to society while this nightmare of a situation is going on and people are having a hard time finding masks, but we could also continue to manufacture and ship out our other products as well. So it gives us a way to stay open. And we decided early on, we're not laying off any staff, we're not cutting hours, anything like that. That was a non-negotiable for us. We didn't want to add any stress to our team. We didn't want people to have to worry. We wanted to take care of them and make sure that they felt safe and taken care of. And so, that was how we initially started. And we even, we said, let's do this. Let's sell some online so that we can, profit a little bit to cover our salary. But then also we can donate some as well, so we can give back to the community. So we started selling one and donating 3 for every one that we sold. And then the demand just kind of grew wings, honestly. Here in Dallas, it's not mandatory for people to wear the masks, but in some other states it is. And so we saw the demand, really across the US kind of explode. And so we've sold a lot of masks, and we've also donated a ton to churches around the country, police departments, postal workers, children's hospitals, nursing homes, dentist office, several places that, at least early on for sure, and still a little bit right now, we're having a hard time getting their hands on the medical masks, the N95s and the surgical masks and things like that. And, there's a lot of price gouging going on. And even on our side of things, we've had to pay, a lot more than we wanted to for cotton fabric and elastic and things like that, because suppliers know that the demand is high and people are making masks. And so it's kind of crazy. It feels like the Wild West. It's different every day. But yeah, it was a fun way for us to innovate and get creative, so we're not bored sitting at home. Also, it was a way for us to give back to the community. And from a business standpoint, it was a great pivot, and it's done wonders for us during this time. We've actually had to hire a few more people to help keep up with the demand and the manufacturing. So we're able to grow through this, and we're actually even opening up some production in Mexico as of this week. So we're providing jobs for, about 15 to 20 people down there in our shoe factory as well, because the shoe factory was closed. And now the same thing, it kind of carries over. They're able to make masks, and so they're able to open back up. And so, the impact is starting to be felt globally, and it's just been fun. It kind of feels like we're just along for the ride at this point.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, man. I love that. That's so cool. Hey, it's warm and fuzzy on all angles. It's good. People need the masks. You're helping them out. It helped your business out. You're open again. You're providing jobs. Your business is not only surviving, but thriving during this moment. Mm-hmm. It's a testament to your business acumen, really, is what it comes down to, right? You're a forward-thinking person, and you and your wife saw an opportunity. You jumped on it. And it's awesome, man. I love it. That's totally cool. So talk to us a little bit about, again, the audience for the Growth Podcast, entrepreneurs, right? And a lot of them in the digital space. Maybe they are digital marketers, or they have agencies, or maybe they're like a Facebook ads specialist who runs Facebook ads for, public speaking people, or, they write books and they run funnels and stuff. Marketing for leather shoes. how
Mhm.
does somebody possibly go up against Gucci or who, I'm not the shoe expert at all, so I can't really say any shoe names, but how do you go up against these monsters? Like, how do you differentiate? How does that work?
Yeah. Since this is recorded, I'm going to do my best to not say the names of any other brands.
Oh, good
Um,
idea. Forget that name I said. Screw that name.
um,
No, forget those guys.
but no, I mean, you're right. Like this is one of the oldest, this is one of the oldest textile industries in the United States for sure. And even, before that,
Mm,
um, in Europe, people were cobbling leather shoes and leather boots and, that stuff. So it's a very old art form. But that being said, it hasn't really evolved a lot over time. And in the space that it has is not really what we're doing. I mean, you can look at athletic shoes and see a ton of innovation. You can look at work boots and see a ton of innovation. You can look at things like Crocs, obviously, which is a shoe made from a piece of foam or a piece of rubber. So, but in as far as leather dress shoes, leather boots, they still look pretty much the same as they did a long time ago. And so um, honestly, I was very inspired by the business model of someone like a Warby Parker. I haven't worn glasses my whole life, and so when I did start wearing them a few years ago, I did a ton of research and I looked into quality and price point and what's the story. And so I kind of fell in love with their story that they had a little bit of inside information and they knew that the markup is insane in the eyewear industry and that it is possible to create a very high quality pair of glasses and sell them at a much more reasonable price. And so for my wife and I, having that passion of wanting to take care of people, wanting to look out for people, and then knowing what I did about the shoe industry and that there's a ton of markup in the leather industry as well, we kind of wanted to take that approach and aim for the top when it comes to quality, but try to bring it down to a much more reasonable place when it comes to the price. Um, so speaking to the marketing piece, we do have to get very creative because on one hand, we're looking at the very high end fashion houses that have pretty high prices, dramatically higher than ours. And we are buying materials, we're buying leather from the same suppliers, like from the same places that they are getting their leather from, having our shoes made in the same facilities that some of them are getting their shoes made in. And so they're made the same way, they're made with the same materials, but we are able to sell them at a fraction of what they sell them for. So on that side, it's education. Honestly, it's showing people where the markup is and kind of where they're being taken advantage of and all the things in the middle that we are able to cut out to still provide them a quality product at a much better price. And then you have the other side of things where people are willing to go to fast fashion stores and buy a cheaper pair of shoes that are made with cheaper, lesser quality or artificial materials. Um, the morals are not as high necessarily in those companies. You see facilities collapsing on 1,200 employees in Bangladesh and things like that, where things are very cheaply made with, just quick cash is in mind. And so if we can convince those people to just spend a little bit more, you're going to get a product that's going to last you 10 times as long. You can feel good about yourself morally, supporting a brand that does not endorse those type of working environments. And then you can know that you're going to have the same lasting quality shoe that you would if you paid, $1,000, $500 for one of the big fashion houses. So a lot of it is education. You'd be amazed how much people don't know. Someone can own 20 pairs of dress shoes and will not know some of the things that we introduce them to when we're comparing one of our shoes to another shoe or talking about the process or talking about the materials or why one material is better than another or why one stitch is better than another or a stitch is better than glue in some situations and just different things like that. People honestly just don't know. And so if you can enlighten them, if you can share something that they didn't already know, but it's a product that they already, they already purchase on their own, you're just opening the door to, lifelong customers. I think it builds that trust. Like we're willing to be honest with them up front and then they trust us.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's right. Now, check this out. I bought a pair of shoes in Italy, right? And I'm going to a wedding, so I got myself a new pair of shoes. Now, they're not the most expensive designer shoes. I did get them downtown Rome. I think they cost roughly 150 or 200 euros. I'm sure the markup is absolutely astronomical. It's in the shopping district of Rome. Anyways, I got them here. I thought I'd get them out for you listening on the podcast. Unfortunately, you can't see, but just envision a pair of black dress shoes. And I just want to pull them out and just, give them a bit of a look-see here.
Hmm.
See what our main man thinks about these shoes. Do you see anything that pops out of the? What do you think about these so far?
I mean, they look good. Yeah, from the top, it's a nice black Oxford with the cap toe.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it looks like a nice shoe. I mean, Italy is the footwear capital of the Eastern Hemisphere. So,
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, now walk me through this because these actually have a rubber bottom, hey?
uh-huh,
And I've had many dress shoes in my life. Working in the corporate world, I wore a suit every day, and I had nice shoes then, and they weren't rubber. I remember that some of them had nails or something in the bottom.
uh-huh,
This is not my specialty, as you can tell. So these are a rubber bottom. So what is
yeah.
this? Is this a good thing, a bad thing, or what's that mean?
Um, I mean, it really kind of depends. If the entire heel is rubber, that is it's a cheaper construction method that is not as durable, but it's probably more comfortable than just a leather sole. That one looks like it's probably a leather sole with a rubber cap on it, if I can see it
Yeah, I
correctly.
believe
But
this is leather here.
yeah, it looks like a
This is
stacked leather
this is
heel.
rubber for sure.
Yeah. So that's similar to the construction on our shoes. And so our dress shoes have a leather sole. So the heel is stacked leather.
Mm.
And similarly, it has a rubber cap on the heel, and there's a rubber piece on the front of the shoe as well on the forefoot. And that really helps with comfort, especially walking on hard surfaces or if you're on your feet for an extended period of time, things like that. Also helps with the durability.
Mm.
The rubber will wear down, but not quite as fast as the leather, and it's pretty easy to replace.
How can you
Um,
replace this piece? Hey.
yeah, so if you've got the rubber piece in addition to the leather, if you take that to a cobbler, they should be able to replace just the rubber piece itself without having to replace the entire sole.
Mm.
So a lot of times that's the benefit of having the rubber.
Mm.
It's the cushion, the durability, and then easy to replace it.
Yeah, totally. A little bit of cushion. And I noticed this part here is all stitched. Hey,
Yeah. Hmm.
that's a stitch there.
Yeah, that looks like a lock stitch construction, that's how we make our dress shoes as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's your score? What do you think?
It looks good. It looks really good. I mean, it's definitely an Italian profile. It's a little more narrow in the front of the shoe, which personally I like that a lot. I like the more European style.
Mm. Me
Um,
too. Me too.
it's a clean look.
Mm. Yeah, cool, man. Thank you. They're approved by the Shoe King, so I'm happy about that. That's awesome. Yeah, man,
Absolutely.
that's cool. I can wear them with pride now. Now, right? Absolutely. Cool, man. So, again, I love what you're doing. Where's the future of the company going? What's the big long-term vision? What's the big goal? Where are you going to be in the next, 5, 10 years? What's the roadmap look like?
Apparently just masks. No,
Masks are hot right now.
yeah. I mean, all jokes aside, we'll continue making the masks in addition to our regular products for as long as we need to, as long as people need it, as long as this pandemic is around, and you know we'll just kind of see where that goes. But that was always in addition to what we're doing. Obviously we want to continue to build on the shoe brand, and we're actually working on some pretty exciting collaborations this year where we'll be working with either other artists in the industry or some higher profile people in other industries, and kind of doing the signature shoe idea. So that'll be exciting. Get to step into kind of some new arenas there.
Mm.
And then on our other side with the MacBook cases and iPad cases and things like that, we're going to be adding some more leathers. We'll be kind of transitioning into a more sustainable model as much as possible, using vegetable tanned leathers as opposed to some of the harsher chemicals, and doing some things like that. And then here locally in Dallas, where we have our showroom and facility, we'll actually be opening that up to the public for people to come in and customize a lot of the products there on the spot. So we'll kind of create like a truly unique experience there. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, customizing stuff, people love that. Hey, put your name on it, do this, do that. Um, Love it. It's awesome. Anytime you can personalize a service for anybody, they love it, right? They become loyal fans, and it's a higher level of service. So that's cool, man. I love it.
Absolutely.
Awesome, bro. Well, I just ordered myself a new MacBook. Maybe I need to hit you guys up for a leather case in the future here when you guys start producing those. That's very cool.
Hey, there you go.
That's awesome. All right, man. Well, Matt, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks so much for joining me here on the Growth Podcast. You guys are doing awesome stuff, and I just love having guests like yourself that are contributing, pivoting, and expanding in this time. The world needs leaders to step up. It needs businessmen and women to actually move with the times, and you're doing that. So thanks for leading by example. That's cool, man. So where can the listeners go find you guys?
You can find our masks or shoes at leatherforthepeople.com. And then all of the MacBook and iPad cases you can find at missionleatherco.com.
Boom. Leatherforthepeople.com. What a domain. How did you get that one? I'm not even going to ask. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Congratulations. Thanks again for being on the Growth Podcast, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.